it's everybody's favorite lightning round. All right, today we're talking about work and leadership, and I have not seen these questions, and so Kelly's going to let them RIP, let them rip.
All right, how do I separate my career and my identity?
Oh gosh, your career's a job. It's a way to earn a living. Your identity is who you are moving through the world, and so the way I would say that is one of the identities I've chosen to take is. I sit with people who are hurting. I sit with struggling people. I did that when I worked at Burger King. I worked at Burger King for 4 years, worked my way up to assistant manager. What up? But I worked at Burger King. I also was a dean of students. I also was a professor. I also now I'm a YouTuber, for God's sake. And in every one of those jobs, my identity was I sit with hurting people. And lunch rush at Burger King, people are standing in line, exhausted, dead-eyed. Man, it's hurting people all through that line. And people call into the show, people are hurting. It's all through that line. So your identity is like who you are. Why are you operating in the world? And your job is the way you make money. If you're really, really lucky, those two things can work together.
All right. As a leader, I need to have an awkward conversation with a direct report. How do I start the conversation?
This is going to be an awkward conversation. I think any other way around that, usually one of two things happens. And I've done both of these incorrectly. You have like a, hey, how's it going? How's the fam? Oh yeah, how's little Timmy? Did his play go well? Great, that's awesome. Hey, you're fired. Like there's that way, which is just catches everybody off guard. There's you walk in and you feel like it's a funeral. You can feel the weight in there and you're nervous as a leader and a boss, you're nervous. I'm scared, I'm uncomfortable. That's true too. The best way is just say, hey, we need to have an uncomfortable conversation. This one's gonna be awkward for both of us. Here we go. And you gotta start bathing before you can. I've had that conversation. You're gonna have to start putting on deodorant. Have that conversation. I've had all those conversations. So it starts with, this is gonna be an awkward conversation. And if possible, let me add this. This is gonna be an awkward conversation, and I need you to know I'm on your team on this. But here's what has to happen.
All right. My team went to a happy hour. One of them made an inappropriate joke that made others uncomfortable. How do I talk to them about it?
Very just like that. Just being off-site, just being drunk is not an excuse. It's a context, right? And so if you get drunk and you say stupid stuff at a bar, well, those people are who you're gonna see on Monday, and it goes with you. And not that this has ever happened to me in my life. I've never gone out and said something inappropriate and had to look at those people on Monday, ever in my life. But you have that conversation direct, the same as you would at work. Because it's inappropriate, it's inappropriate, it's inappropriate.
All right.
Kelly.
What?
That was somebody put that in for you, by the way.
No, but I always laugh at the Christmas party every year because there's always one or two people that you're like, man, Monday morning.
It's going to be awkward for you.
They got to come back.
I remember a few years ago, Joe Levitt was like the guy who he's worked at the company in live events for a long time. He's an institution here. He's awesome. But he got up and he goes, listen, this is a Christmas party. And you got to know, where I work at Ramsey Solutions, Christmas parties they're unfathomable. Like it's chaos. It's unbelievable. And he said, this is a Christmas party. Don't lose your job. Don't lose your job. What are you doing? You know what I mean? And I thought, what are we doing? And then I got in there and I was like, oh, there's some of y'all that are going to lose your job.
Yeah, there's always a couple personal brands that take a hit that night.
Whoa. Yeah, that's right.
All right. So I made a big mistake that could cost the company a lot of money.
Kelly.
When I took over this show. How do I own up to what happened gracefully?
You ask your supervisor, your leader, for some time, and then you make sure, I've made this mistake too. Make sure you have your facts in a row. And one time, this is a whole other story. I won't get into it. I've thought I've made mistakes to the tune of $750,000 before of the spreadsheet error. And then I thought I've made the worst mistake. It wasn't that big. It was $25,000. And over the course of a $100 million company, it's not that big a deal. But you walk in and you say, I've made a mistake. I screwed something up. I made an error. Here's what I think the extent of the damage is. And if you've got one or two ideas, here's what I think I can do to help, but I'm open for any questions you have. And so I'm taking ownership of it, as Jocko says, extreme ownership. I screwed this up. Even if you're like a mid-manager and one of your people screwed up, you're the boss. Walk in and say, this happened under my watch. Don't be one of those leaders that's like, hey, this guy did it. This happened under my watch. One of my staff members did X, Y, or Z. I'm the leader. I'm taking ownership of it. And you might get fired. Your integrity is not worth your job. You might get demoted. Your demotion is not worth your job. Like, it's not worth your job. Go in there and say, this is what happened. This is what it cost. Here's what I think I can do to help. And often your boss is going to say, God's sakes, don't do anything. That your solution is terrible. I got a better solution. We'll work together.
All right.
Hey, that's a much gentler.
It's much nicer. We got a lot of feedback about the timer. So.
How mean y'all are to me. See? Okay, good. Way to go, America. Thank you for your feedback.
No, we didn't get comments about that. We got comments about the timer.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because it hurts my feelings. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what my concern is. All right. I know you have feelings on this one because we've talked about it before. Should you be friends with coworkers?
No! Just kidding. All right, here's my thoughts on coworkers and friends. Yes, you're going to work. I mean, we work so closely together. Of course, we're friends, and I care about folks, and yes, we're going to have close friendships. And you got to have people outside of work. You got to have people outside of work. Here's what can be unfair. It can be unfair if your only friend community is your workmates, and then you come up with a personal struggle. Hey, I'm struggling with my drinking. I'm struggling with my mental health. I'm struggling with X, Y, or Z, and you dump that on a coworker who then has to decide, do I want to stay employed here with this huge secret? I mean, do I want to stay employed? And I've got to communicate to the leadership, hey, this person's not fit to be a nurse or a hospital aide right now. They're struggling with opioid addiction. Or do I have to choose my friendship over my personal responsibility, my ethical responsibility, my work, and keep this thing a secret? That's not a fair position to put somebody in. And so I can often hear like, man, I can't believe you told. I can't believe you told. So have some friends outside of work that you can divulge everything to, that you can be honest with, that you don't keep secrets from. And yes, have close friendships. I just know I'm not going to put Kelly in a position I'm not going to come and be like, hey, Kelly, guess what happened this weekend? To where she's got to think, I might have to report this to my supervisor because John shouldn't be doing a show on marriage because he's got 14, right? I'm not going to put her in that position, right? Trust me, I'm not 14 anything. 14 anything.
But you did not always agree that coworkers should be friends.
No, I've come around a little bit on it.
Yeah, that was the minimalists had a lot.
Yeah, I've come around on that. Those two guys are brothers, and I've come around that. But those two guys also have a level of safety and understanding and care. If one of them came and said I had an addiction, Josh wouldn't fire Ryan. Be like, oh, well, you're not a minimalist anymore, maximalist, right? Or if like Josh bought a fancy couch, he wouldn't be like, you're fired. Like that's not how that works. That's not how their agreement works. At most workplaces, there's codes of conduct. There's lines you can't cross. And I think it's important that you don't double down on secrecy because secrets will kill you. And you end up with this double life and it just comes out. It always comes out and it comes out in an explosion. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Have friends outside of the office too. But yes, you're going to have friends and people you care about. Dump button, we're there for life because we rocked.
For life.
We rocked. That's all I'm saying.
All right. I have a coworker that doesn't have good hygiene. How do I say something without hurting their feelings?
Oh, is this about me?
No, and I swear it's nobody in this room.
It's Nate right there. I'm looking at Nate. Come on, Nate. I've had that conversation multiple times in my career, and it goes back to that original thing. You bring him in and say, hey, this is an awkward conversation. I've gotten multiple requests. Hey, and here, let me say this. If you have experienced somebody's not showering, you've experienced somebody's body odor. Could be cultural. It could be a homeopath. There's always that homeopathic person in the office that's like, I'm using crystals instead of deodorant. You're like, we all can tell, right? Or whatever. I just rub plants on my face and I don't smell anymore. It's like, you for sure do. Or I brush my teeth with charcoal, whatever your thing is. Oh gosh, the toothbrush people, they're coming for me. It's cool, man. I've got charcoal toothpaste too. Everybody back it down a notch. Now I lost my train of thought. If you've experienced it, don't call somebody into your office and say, hey man, a bunch of people are telling me. Because when you do that, people will start to think everybody's out to get them, and they're not. Be a person of integrity and courage and say, I'm experiencing you've got extreme body odor and it's becoming very hard to work with you. You got to take a shower. You got to wash your clothes. Are you struggling financially? Do you need some help? I've had one time I had to have that conversation with a student, and their response to me was, I can't afford soap. And I said, man, we got you. We've got a special fund for that. But they couldn't afford soap, right? That's how they were living. So be graceful and be direct and be kind and be on the same side of the same team.
But one question I have on that. So the question is, I have a coworker. So is that something that as a coworker, is that something that you take to the
Who
leader?
doesn't want to know if they have a booger on their face? Or a humongous like white zit? Like somebody, hey, will you tell me? Like I want somebody to know I got something in my teeth. I would think less of you as my friend if I finished an episode of the show and I've got like a huge thing in my teeth and I've got like you're my friend. Tell me, right? That's what I would expect. That same as bathing.
Had a little piece of biscuit today, and I told him.
I appreciated it.
Yeah,
because then I would be walking around with that biscuit on my face.
And if someone's talking to you, like, hey, hard conversation, real quick, dude, you have coffee breath so much that I think that you would knock down a small child. I want to know that. I can go brush my teeth. I'll go get some mints or something. I just don't want to be dragon breath guy the whole day.
Yeah, if I've had something in my teeth and I've talked to multiple people, makes me so angry.
Yes, makes me think you're not a good human. Yeah. You're not a good person.
Exactly. All right. I don't think my leader leads our team well.
Right? I've been telling Chris that. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Should I talk to their leader about it?
Ooh, the old end around. And I realize on a show that's often about sex, I shouldn't have said the old end around. I reserve, that's a nuclear option for me. I reserve that for ethical violations and ethical dilemmas. Like somebody's asking me to do something that lacks integrity. They're asking me to steal, to cut corners, to change numbers, to whatever. Or I'm witnessing this person themselves have unethical behavior. They're fudging timesheets. They're whatever. Then yeah, I will. In my life, when I've experienced that, I have looked in the mirror and said, what of this can I tolerate? And what of this can I not tolerate? Once or I think twice, I've left. I've chosen to go because I don't want to work in this environment other than throw grenades. Because again, that's just not who I am. And other times I've been like, this particular boss of mine, this leader is just bonkers, and it's just the way it is. And I just put up with it and we move on. So, what do you think about that?
Well, we have to hurry because I have a meeting with your leader after this.
Oh, sweet. What do you think about that?
Gosh, that's a hard one. But I kind of agree. I think that you have to decide if you can stay. But unless they're doing something unethical, I just don't see a way that works out well if you go to their leader. That's a hard, I don't see a way that ends well.
If it's like that person's annoying or that person's just rude
or I don't agree.
I don't like the way they're doing. Shut up. You know what I mean? Like I decide to be there or don't be there.
Right. We have to learn how to work in those kind of, because you're not, everybody that you work for is not going to be your favorite person ever.
Right. And if that person keeps making racist jokes, that person's fudging the numbers. Yeah, right, dude, we're going to have another conversation. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. I run a meeting and two people in the meeting don't get along. It's awkward for everyone else. How do I handle it?
You call those two people in a room and say, hey, we're grown-ups. We're not children. We're going to solve this problem right now. In fact, you want me to leave? I need to know what's going on here because this is affecting everybody else. And if y'all two can't get this together, y'all are opting out of working here. You got to go because I'm not going to have you two people disrupt this whole thing. And that, as the leader, that's my job, is to call them in and deal with that situation.
That's great. All right, last one. What is the worst career advice you've ever received?
Oh, follow your passion. So stupid. Follow your passion. If that was the case, I'd be raising unicorns like in Ireland. So, like, so stupid. Actually, that's not my passion at all. I think that's just poor, awful, stupid, misguided. Follow what makes you feel good. That's so stupid. Most people, most of the time, become passionate about what they're really, really good at. And you only get really good at something when you do it over and over and over and you practice it and you get lots of reps in and you fail and you get back up and you go. And most of us only practice something that hard when somebody's pushing us, whether it's a boss or a coach or a parent. And so ultimately you go all the way down that line. Most of us are really passionate about the things that we do and the things that we're good at because somebody put us in uncomfortable situations along the way. A few people, I've met them. Will Rudder's one of those guys. He just sits in his room and jams. That guy doesn't need somebody yelling at him. You need to practice. He just practices. And he's one of the best guitarists I've ever heard ever in my life, ever. Most people I know don't have that. They had parents that made them take piano and they'd take piano and take violin and whatever. And then they became, oh, I'm good at this. And then when I play it, he or she smiles at me. And I'm going to keep doing this. Or this teacher high fives me. And I'm going to get better. And I'm going to get better. And then all of a sudden they're rocking Bell the bands. Not quite like Dump Button, but they're still rocking. That's all.
That's it.
That's it?
That was it.
Oh my gosh, we are solving problems here on this show.
We are definitely changing the world.
Listen, be a good leader. And if you don't know what you're doing, go to Entree. What's that? RailySolutions.com, Entree Leadership. Check them out. You get your mind right when it comes to leadership.